I, as Anne mentioned, am now at Co for the last 7 months, and before that was at Crispin for almost 10 years, and worked from there from junior sort of art director out of school, where I drove across the country and decided to like work at CPB, and didn't take no for an answer when I interviewed, to working my way up to an ACD of the LA office. And so at the time I remember going there, it was known as really a boys club, like a lot of motocross and motorcycles and biking. I think even during my first interview, Dave Schiff, who's covered in tattoos, pulled a knife on me, like literally a pocket knife when he opened his door. And being from Oklahoma and kind of scrappy and wrestling growing up, I think I grabbed his wrist. And he was like, okay, you're tough enough to work here. So I was like, okay, this is a strange place. For some reason, I decided it was a good idea to stay, and even though someone had pulled a knife on me, so that's kind of sort of telling. But I think more than being a boys club, what I realized is, which kind of I think helped me, is it was a place where ideas are really the only thing that mattered. It didn't where the idea came from. It was also one where everyone was a workhorse. People were sleeping under their desks. It was an intense time. And also, like, there were no titles. Rob Riley had joined, who's now, the chief creative officer, like, worldwide. He had joined as a writer and had come from being like an ECD somewhere. And I joined as an art director, and we were on the same level. So everyone was really on the same level, and no one really asked for titles or anything. What I didn't realize at the time is that was probably a good thing for me, because apparently a lot of women are afraid to ask for titles, or workhorses that never say no. So those things I didn't have to do, because we were all sort of on the same playing ground. But as we started to grow, titles came about, and I actually was made a creative director. And I remember it was the first time I really realized that I was a different sort of position then, where I got all these letters and notes from people that said, that's really inspiring for me as a woman to see you in this creative director role. I was the first sort of creative director there. And I had never really thought of myself as a sort of role model for other women. And I remember writing to Alex and Andrew and saying, this is crazy, this is great. I'm so glad, I'm a female creative director and that you did this. I think it's really inspiring for other people. And Alex wrote me and he was like, that's weird, I never noticed you were a woman. He's like, I just noticed you were smart. And I think, that's what I think we all want. We don't want to be smart women, we want to just be smart. And so having someone, I think, that supported me like that was really important, and I realized that I needed to support other people in that. And it also put me in this different category where I had to be aware, I think, of what I represented, and that I could help other women. And that's really when I first started to read about people like Rose, Sarah, and Susan, and be inspired by their stories, and kind of understand that, where I was kind of in an island in Miami, Coconut Grove, Florida, away from sort of the rest of the ad world, so didn't realize what was all going on and what the numbers were and stuff out there. And so, it's really, I think, inspiring that now we get to. I wish I had heard this then, and I learned from them, reading about them, and ended up having to use a lot of that sort of advice, that you do ultimately have to learn how to ask for things and to get things, because as we grew as an agency and as I grew, there were things that weren't going to come to me unless I asked for them, and that I didn't have to make my other people that worked for me sleep under their desk and never say no, which I still honestly have a hard time. I struggle with myself. It's the one thing Rose tells me, I won't say no. So there are things you always are sort of working at. So I think even in this group of people, with people that have made it and are successful already, there's still a lot to learn from each other, and how we can all be better. So really excited to hear their stories.